The book I started writing while I was in therapy. I started writing it out more as a journal to kind of connect those dots for myself. Like, how did I get here from where I was? How did I end up here feeling so anxious and fearful and everything? And I was also reading other memoirs of women who had similar experiences, and they gave me a lot of hope and made me realize that it was possible to come out of that and heal. So I thought that, maybe I should publish mine as well. And that's how that became a book.
Welcome to Harmonic Alignment, a podcast that explores the new frontier of energy medicine, bridging the gap between Western medicine and quantum physics, giving you easy and practical solutions. Guided by me, Dr. Larissa Sharipova, and me, Priscilla Koblenz. Join us on a journey discovering your harmonic alignment. On today's episode of Harmonic Alignment, Dr. Larissa Sharipova connects with Pamela Topjian. Pamela has an absolutely compelling story of how she overcame trauma, the loss of loved ones, physical and sexual abuse. She has taken the healing journey to the next level, and that she is sharing her incredible stories and her life journey. Pamela was also a nurse, and she wrote a book called Behind the Mask, Gloves and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey, where she shares what's happening behind the scenes and what needs to change. She also wrote a book, I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far. This is a project that took her 5 years, and it was part of her healing journey through the trauma. She's a board-certified hypnotherapist and an animal lover. This is a beautiful story. Please be sure to check out Pamela Topjian's work.
Welcome to Harmonic Alignment. Today I am talking to Pamela Topjian, and she was a registered nurse, and now she's author and also hypnotherapist. So welcome to the show, Pam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was actually a licensed nurse, which is one step down from a registered nurse. So I
Okay.
just want to put that out there. And I went to hypnotherapy after I quit my nursing career, but more so now I do pet sitting full time.
Wow. So pet sitting is kind of interesting job after nursing. So I would like to hear your story. Tell us about your journey. What led you from nursing to become a pet sitter, hypnotherapist, author?
Yeah. Nursing was really, I like to say that it was a soul-sucking career. I didn't feel good in the nursing career. I didn't feel like I could give all to my patients that they needed. I never went away feeling like I did a good job, always overworked. It's giving me bad arthritis in my hands. I had a major mental breakdown at one point. So after the breakdown, I went through therapy, and then after that went back to nursing and started feeling that same way, just really overwhelmed, really anxious and depressed and stuff. So I knew I had to give it up.
Before you continue, I want to ask you what area of medicine did you work and for how many years until you realized that it's not the way for you?
Yeah, yes. I was very excited in nursing school. And I was working in nursing homes and I was in a hospital for a short time. And I kept changing the different areas of nursing, trying to find where I fit in and where I felt better about it. So where I ended up was home health. And I was doing home health, and I thought you're one-on-one patient, that it would be a nicer area. And I was working with children at that point rather than in nursing homes with Alzheimer's patients. But within, I'd say, 3 or 4 years, I already knew that it was kind of corrupt. In my opinion and my experience, the whole field was corrupt in the US anyway. It was unethical, some of the things I was being asked to do. I noticed that it was very business oriented and not so much healthcare oriented. And so I started looking for something else and something more holistic, and that I felt like I could really help people, on their healing journey rather than what I was doing in nursing. And I went to a school for just where it was an intro to a lot of different things. And hypnotherapy was one of them. And I fell in love with it. And I just followed that course and continued on with my education for hypnotherapy. After that was all done, and that was back in, oh gosh, 2010 or so. My life circumstances, the way they were, I wasn't able to switch from nursing to trying to have a hypnotherapy practice. So at one point, I had worked in a detox and recovery center, and I was able to do some group sessions and things like that, and also just like friends and people here and there on my own away from nursing. And then it was 2019, almost 10 years later, I went back to hypnotherapy. And that was after that breakdown and what I had just described, where I was feeling like I really need to get out of this now. So I went to another school again because it had been so long and I was in a different state. So to become certified and just update my education and training. I had a hypnotherapy business. This is the 5th year, and it was just such a roller coaster, so up and down. And I was doing pet sitting on the side, and the pet sitting was really growing. And I found myself, I have to turn away clients now because it's so busy and I love it so much. So this year is kind of a turning point for me in 2025, kind of stepping away from the hypnotherapy and just focusing on pet sitting.
So what's the benefits of pet sitting and what do you do with pets?
So families go away on trips, whether it's for business or, a wedding or funeral or just for vacation. And they've got pets, and I mostly take care of special needs pets or elderly pets, ones that the family might not feel would do really well in boarding or something like that. So they hire somebody, me, to come in and house sit as well as pet sit so that the pet can still have its same, routine and its same environment and everything. And I stay the whole time the family's away and keep their pets happy and healthy. And most of them are on medications or they're elderly or special needs, and they really can't be left alone. So that's what I do.
Can you use your hypnotherapy for pets?
I don't use the hypnotherapy for pets, but if they are getting anxious or something, I will sort of sing softly to them or, just sort of use that more hypnotic voice with them. Almost everybody, all the families will say, oh, they seem so calm and so happy. But I also will play like meditation music in the background while I'm there.
So leaving a career in nursing was a significant change for you.
Yeah.
You tried twice. How did you find the courage to step into that new path and living a career that you had for a long time?
Well, it didn't take courage as much as it was something I should have done much sooner. It was something I had to do for my own mental health and physical health, really. It was 2020, so already we were in lockdown and that. Luckily, my husband was able to work from home. So I was very fortunate to be able to not have to worry about the financial part of it at that time, finally in my life, So that was a big part of it. So after I had had that mental breakdown and after the healing of that, I no longer was okay with settling for anything or doing anything that was going to cause me too much stress or bring me down in any way or hurt me in any way. So, I've changed my life since that breakdown, since I went through therapy and writing my books. You mentioned I was an author. That was very healing part of it as well. Now in my life, I have changed to where I no longer will accept doing anything that's not good for me or, that I don't absolutely love.
You have your boundaries now.
Absolutely. Self-care, right?
Very important.
Very.
You mentioned some mental breakdown and physical breakdown. Do you mind to share what was going on with you?
So I had had a traumatic childhood, and mainly because we lived in poverty and my father wasn't around and no adults were around and I was very little. So I became a teen mother and I had had some sexual assaults and date rapes and that as a young teen. And my oldest sister was killed in a car accident when I was 14. When I was married the first time, he was very controlling. And I know the word narcissist gets tossed around quite a bit, but he was a true narcissist. After I went to nursing school, I left him, and the next marriage was abusive in every way. When I left that marriage, that's when I had the mental breakdown. I was suicidal. I was very anxious, very fearful, could not really function, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. Everything should have been great. I left him, I had a good career, I should have felt safe and okay, but it just all came crashing down. I made a big move out of state to another state and got some therapy. And then coming back from that, everything in my life has changed, and I'm a totally different person now. The book I started writing while I was in therapy, I started writing it out more as a journal to kind of, connect those dots for myself. Like, how did I get here from where I was? How did I end up here feeling so anxious and fearful and everything? And I was also reading other memoirs of women who had similar experiences, and they gave me a lot of hope and made me realize that it was possible to come out of that and heal. So I thought that, maybe I should publish mine as well. And that's how that became a book.
So the goal of the book was to share your story so other women can see that it's possible to get better,
Yes.
to heal the trauma, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And once I started knowing that it was possible, once I started coming out of that fear state and survival mode, and once I knew I was going to be okay and I was healing, that's when it's like, oh, this would be, it's not a book of just gloom and doom. At the end, it has a nice healing ending. So, yeah.
You went through talk therapy. Did you use any other modalities to help you deal with your trauma?
Yeah, so I had went through talk therapy, psychotherapy, and EMDR therapy, actually. I credit EMDR with saving my life. So I had went to a doctor because I was anxious, I couldn't sleep, and it had been a while. I was like, what is wrong with me? And I went to a medical doctor, and he is the one who suggested a therapist, which of course was, what I needed. So when I first went, I was like, I left an abusive marriage and I can't get over it and I can't seem to get my head straight since then. I didn't know what was going on with me. And when I first started with the psychotherapy and I wasn't able to really express what I was going through or talk about the past. So that's when we implemented the EMDR, and it really, really was very helpful. And then writing everything out, I don't remember the therapist suggesting that or not, but I know I was reading a lot at that point. So writing it all out was very healing. And I really suggest that to other people too. Even if you don't ever plan on publishing, just writing it out. It gets it out of you and it helps you to gain clarity and to sort of understand better about how things are connected and how this happened from that and how your life went from one point to another.
Like a
So yeah.
timeline, kind of time.
Yeah.
You can connect the dot later and you see where it originated, the trauma. Did you ever find out where your trauma started? Do even ancestors' trauma?
I didn't go back to any ancestral trauma. I know there's quite a few modalities that you can do that with. I have not done that. That was one thing I thought of too, is like after I'm long gone, it would be really interesting. I would love to have a memoir by, a great great aunt or, great 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 grandmother or something like that to read about what her life was like. It may also be helpful for somebody, way down the road, whoever. I don't have any grandchildren now, but anybody in my family line, if they see that book many, many years from now, then they'll be able to see what my life was like.
So how would you say right now where you stand on a timeline? Are you still working on the issues? Are you in progress or you completely healed?
I feel like I'm completely healed from all of that. When I first thought I was completely healed, things continue to come up and bother you. So I feel like once you're able to talk about it without getting emotional or without having it ruminate and keep you up at night, that's when you kind of know that you've healed from some of that. If I felt like I was slipping back into a depression or anxiety, then I would take a step back and try to look at the bigger picture of what's going on in my life that I'm feeling this way now, or what's happening that this is going on. Stepping away from hypnotherapy, at the beginning of this year, I thought of what is causing me the most stress in my life right now. And it was this, whole entrepreneurial thing, and trying to grow a business and especially one that, that has a lot of misconceptions and it's hard to explain hypnotherapy to people. At the end of this year is the time to renew the certification. So this is a good time to sort of delve deeper into my pet sitting, which I love and is going great, and take a step back and sort of decide. I've got the year to decide if I want to renew that certification or not.
Did you try ever hypnotherapy for yourself? How it's called when you do for yourself? Outer hypnotherapy?
Yeah, I did hypnotherapy with other students that I was in class with. And I've had some hypnotherapy while we were training, but also after we've all been certified, just with other hypnotherapists that I know. So I didn't really like seek out hypnotherapy. It was more during the training and getting practice with other hypnotherapists. You can either get it just to kind of calm your anxieties and depression and that, or it can be for a specific focus. And so the times that I asked for something was more for confidence building and to feel empowered that you can go on and do well and have faith in yourself. I've had some hypnotherapy for that, but I've never went to a hypnotherapist that I didn't know and have several sessions or anything like that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Many trauma survivors struggle to believe that healing is possible when
Mm-hmm.
people are there going through the struggle.
Yeah.
What helped you hold on to hope during your darkest moments?
Oh my goodness. I had mentioned that I had an oldest sister who had passed away in a car accident. So when I had felt suicidal, the thing that stopped me was I didn't want to do that to my mother. I didn't want her to lose two children. Even though I was an adult, it's still, you're always your mother's child, right? So I didn't want to do that to her. I had made a big move, a physical move out of state to another state. And it was like a last ditch effort. And I thought, if I can't get out of this mode in my mind, then I wasn't going to stay around it because I couldn't live like that. I was giving it all that I could. That's when I went to the doctor. That's when I had stopped nursing and I was doing some house and pet sitting and stuff like that so that I could have a place to live and not have to punch a clock anywhere. And pets are all healing, right? So I gave it my all to be able to heal. And I thought, if I can't do this, then that's it. But the main thing that helped me to hold on to hope was for my mom, for my mother.
And I guess writing your memoir was kind of help you in the process of healing. Would you say that was your healing process to write your book?
Absolutely, because when I first started writing it, it was just, like I said, a journal. I wasn't writing it as a book. I was writing it for me to help get the memory straight and to get it out of me. You have this darkness inside of you, and it's like a weight on you. And if you can write it out, it feels like you're lifting that weight. And then it also helps to clear up any foggy memories. And there were times that I would write and I was going, like you said, just through the timeline to see what happened almost year by year. And if I couldn't remember, I would just leave like asterisks there and I would go on. And knowing the asterisks and knowing like this is a space I need to fill or a memory I need to get back. I talked to my other sister and I think my mother at the time, but I talked to people to say, what do you remember about this, part of our lives? Or even friends that I've known forever, what was going on at this time, or when we lived here, or when we lived there. As a kid, we moved around a lot because we lived in poverty. We sometimes were evicted and we went from apartment to apartment all over. That was rough. And like I said, not having my father around until writing it out and until therapy, I didn't realize how traumatic that was and how much of a negative influence that had on my life.
And probably influence your relationship with men
Exactly.
in general.
Exactly. Not realizing your worth, not being able to sort of stand up for yourself, not ever having an example other than like television shows of like what a good relationship is all about. I fully believe that the reason I got into those relationships was because of not having a father figure around.
Role model for a good
Mm.
husband or good man. Mhm. So, what was the most challenging part of writing your story? And if there was, how did you navigate that?
So I have had some domestic violence with my second husband, and it's very graphic. So this book is not for anybody under 18, but I write it all out just, exactly as everything happened. So as I was writing that stuff out to kind of get it straight in my mind, it's different when you have it in your memory and then you see it written down. It's kind of different. And I had some nightmares and like flashbacks and things. So that was very difficult. And I knew it was important to put in there. I could have easily just said, that he was physically abusive and left it at that. But I thought it was important to put step by step what happened because that way other women could relate more with exactly what happened to them. One of the ways that I handled that is I put it down and not felt like this was my job and I had to get it done by a certain time. It took me 5 years to write it. And so I never once felt like I had a timeline that I had to complete it. And that was really helpful. When it got to be too much emotionally, and I knew, like I said, having flashbacks and having, those nightmares and that, I knew that I needed to put that up for a little bit.
Just release the energy and take a break from that.
Yes, yes.
Did you learn any tools that help you to navigate your life now or after your therapy that you can use every day or when something's come up?
Yeah, so I do meditate regularly, and that is huge. Like I said before, I sort of always will step back a little bit if I'm starting to feel any kind of extra stress. We're all going to have a little bit of stress in life, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but extra stress that's really causing anxiety or depression. I take a step back from it and see what's going on in my life, what is causing this, and just sort of assess where is this coming from? Is this a trigger from a memory or something, or is this something that's going on in my life that I need to back away from or address, or just what do I need to do to not have this get to a place of no return, or not have it snowball into something and build up the momentum that I no longer have that control. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's really important.
I call it mindfulness, being
Yeah,
mindful about your own feeling, how your body feels, and also look outside what outside can be trigger you. Also, maybe you're even thinking you heard something can trigger you, right? Even
right,
think about something can trigger you, but also can be even physical thing like the food you eat. Maybe it's an inflammatory food that create an inflammation in your
right.
body, in the brain, that you start feeling that way. There is so many things that you can look inside and contemplate what's going on and take a step.
Yeah, take a step back to reflect and be mindful for sure. And have that awareness, that self-awareness is so important. Like you had mentioned before with the first, husbands, having personal boundaries for yourself every day. I don't do well in crowds, and I know that about myself. If a friend wants to go to or invites me to something that's going to be crowded, rather than going along because I want to spend time with my friend, I won't. I won't because I know that's not good for me. And I will just tell them, just be honest with them. I would love to spend time with you and visit with you, but no, I don't want to go to that thing.
They'll say it's not for me, or yeah,
Right.
next time, to be polite.
Yeah.
So yes, learn to say no to something that it does not benefit you.
Right. Yeah. Don't feel like you have any obligation, you know, because it's your friend or a family member. Don't feel like you have to do anything that you know is not going to be good for you. Yeah, and that's a hard lesson.
What's the name of your first book, the memoir?
It's I didn't come this far to only come this far.
And you wrote the second book. What's the
I
second
did.
book about?
This is about my nursing career and why I left. It's Behind the Mask, Gloves, and Scrubs, and both are on Amazon and Kindle.
What advice would you give as someone who feels stuck in their pain or unsure if they even can heal? What would your advice be?
My advice would be to write it out. To write it out. Start journaling. It's so important. And if you don't like writing, just even do it on a computer or something, but get it out of you. or share it, even talking to people about it. Don't shy away from therapy or counseling. A lot of people say, oh, I tried therapy or I tried counseling and it didn't work. But maybe you need a different type of therapy, or maybe you need just a different therapist. You have to have that connection. You'll know within a few sessions if that's the right therapist for you. But don't be afraid to switch either if it's not. Write it out. Know that it's possible from stories like mine, and there's a bunch of other memoirs and books and stories out there that people are sharing on podcasts and YouTube and everything. Listen to those other stories so you can get a sense of knowing that it is possible. Yeah, hold on to that hope. Yeah.
I also always believe that share your story can heal you and also heal others. And that's
Yeah.
why during COVID, when we all home and had a lot of time, I created a group online and give a space to women with sexual abuse, with sexual trauma. It's called Involving Story of Women. So all women come once a month. We had meetings and they all share their story. And a lot of now TEDx speakers and you on YouTube and everywhere. And I think it helped me because I had my own sexual abuse trauma. And I didn't realize that because I thought it was a part of women's life. But when I realized that it was traumatic for me, and when I start talking about it, I don't feel it triggers me anymore.
Yeah.
So it was a part of my healing journey, and we're still in progress of healing all our life for certain things for one or another. So I think sharing is the best way. Share with your friends.
Yeah.
At least tell someone. Don't struggle alone.
Right. Don't keep it inside of you. It's not a secret or anything you need to be ashamed of. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
if you don't release that, if you don't say it, it's a kind of bubble inside your energy, and it's gonna show up somewhere in a physical manifestation.
Right, right.
Emotions store in the body. And another great book is Body Keeps the Score.
Right, right.
Let's talk a little bit about your nursing career. What was the goal for writing your book and talking about your career in nursing?
In the first book, I talk a little bit about it, and I don't go into it real deeply. So people were asking me about, the nursing career and what made me leave. And I thought, there's probably enough information there to write a book. And once you write one book and publish, you get that writing bug. And so it's like, oh, that would make a good book. But I also felt like it was for me to sort of validate my own decision, because a lot of people were, oh, don't give it up, don't leave. You put all that education, all that time into it, at least hold on to your license and renew it and everything. And writing it all helped me realize that I should have quit much sooner.
So tell us what's wrong with the medical system. And what you saw that this was so disturbing for you that you had a crisis, a mental crisis that you had to leave?
Yeah, so there were plenty of, I'll just say, bosses that would ask me to do things that were unethical, that I knew were wrong, things that could make me lose my license. And what they do is they say, hey, let's jump on a call. And they want to talk to you. This is really so that there's no record of them saying, hey, give this patient this other patient's medication, or sign out the medication for the nurse that was before you, things like that. Or working 16-hour shifts a lot of times, just not safe. Facilities were taking in patients that we really weren't equipped to help, only because they had good insurance or they could pay. It just hurt my heart so bad to know that we were part of not healing this person, keeping this person from the care that they really need. Somebody that maybe needed to be in a hospital was being taken in to maybe the recovery center or even the nursing home, and they really needed hospital care or one-on-one care, or somebody who needed to be in a mental facility and we took them into recovery or something. The big things were giving medications, prescription medications that wasn't prescribed to those people, and having the bosses try to make you think like, oh, we're buddy buddy, let me give you a call, we're going to talk about the shift coming up. No, no, no. You must say, put it in writing.
It would compromise your career or even care for patients if you would do that. So they know that. So
Yeah.
why they would do that? For what would be a reason behind that?
If you have a new admit, so the doctor has to approve their medications that they're already on, or they're going to, give them other medications according to what's bringing them in. So if the doctor hasn't yet written any prescriptions for them yet, but they've come in presenting with these symptoms, well, the nurse ahead of you would say, well, we know that the doctor is going to give them this, so let's take it from another patient and give it to them anyway. But we don't know their allergies. Do we know?
Contraindication.
Right, all kinds of things. Yeah.
Have you ever expressed how you feel about it?
Yes, yeah, and I refused to do things. Then I was kind of bullied, almost like, I was going against what everybody else was willing to do. That was very difficult, as well as, being understaffed when you're in these big facilities, being understaffed and you don't have the time with each patient, and oftentimes you don't even have what you need, not just the medications, but you don't have the right equipment and just daily things that they need. You don't have it to help them. And especially when it's somebody who needs one-on-one care and they're being left alone in a room and they just really need so much more than you can provide, and it's not safe. When you're in a nursing home, and I know there's laws, but it doesn't matter. They don't follow the laws. You don't get a break. You can be working 12, 16 hours and you don't get a break. And it's really compromising everybody's health and safety, including my own. So it just was so much more frustrating than good, you know?
And we know that our medical system is broken.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to fix it? And if it's possible, how we can fix it from your perspective?
I wish I had the answer. I recently just found out that the tobacco companies, a lot of them have bought a lot of the pharmaceutical companies. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but if there's any conspiracy theory that I believe, it's that they're trying to keep us sick because it generates money for all of them. And it doesn't mean that there aren't doctors and nurses that are in it for the right reasons, that really care about people. I totally believe there are those out there, but most of what I've seen, it's all about the money. So just make it so it's not a business, keep it out of that realm of making money is the most important thing. What really needs to happen is that the care and health and safety and care of the patients is what's top priority over everything else.
How do we do that?
Probably the universal health care, right? So that there's no businesses competing with each other when it comes to healthcare.
If we remove pharmaceuticals company and insurance company from the medical system, we can fix a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those two do not benefit anyone, no doctors, no patients, just themselves.
Right. Right. They have no business in healthcare, especially the insurance companies. How can an insurance company go against a doctor says this patient needs this, and the insurance company says, I don't think so. You know? And they have no medical background. It makes no sense.
Yes, that's very disturbing. And I experienced that myself when I was trained as a medical doctor. And when I came to the country, I wanted to be a doctor and specializing in women's health. And I started working in a hospital. I said, I want to see how the medical system works.
Yeah.
I studied for my boards. And when I work as a unit secretary, I work in operating room, I work in pathology, and I saw what's going on. And I won't be able to practice this way because
Right.
back then, it was like 20 years ago, I realized that to make money, you have to keep people in a chronic disease state, and it's not in my conscience.
Yeah.
So that's the business of medicine, and that's because of capitalism,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And until we change this system, and it's gonna take long time because of
Yeah.
the generation of doctors and medical personnel, and until we take away from pharmaceuticals and insurance industry, we won't be able to change it. Even if you want to do something good and you in the system, it become of your livelihood. That's why you came back to nursing, because that's what supported your life.
Right.
So and a lot of young people going to medicine to help others, but unfortunately that's not what they see. And a lot
Right.
of medical personnel, nurses and doctors, they all depressed, a lot of mental problem, suicides and addictions, because they
Yeah.
cannot stand the system, but they cannot change the system, unfortunately.
Right. It's hard to get out of once you're in it, for sure, for sure. And that's another reason that I wanted to write the book, is because to show the behind the scenes and everything that I went through, because I had several different jobs and I went through what happened in each one. And of course, I changed names and places, but I wanted to show a behind the scenes and maybe give somebody who's in the system and knows all about all that kind of stuff behind the scenes, but then they can see, oh, it is possible to get out of it, but also maybe people who are looking to get into the medical field. I think that if I would have read my book or a book like mine before I went into nursing, because nursing school was awesome. I loved it and I was excited to get out there. That would have helped to give some insight of the reality of what's going on.
That's great. So I hope a lot of people would read your book. And what's the name of the second book again?
It's Behind the Masks, Gloves, and Scrubs, One Nurse's Journey. You had mentioned, working in the medical field without being a doctor first, and that's what I would suggest. Get into being a CNA or work in another type of a job within nursing homes or hospitals and get a sense for it before you decide that that's the career you want. Whether it's being a doctor or a nurse, you get a real good sense by working alongside them.
After I realized how the medical system works, I did not want to be a licensed doctor here, so I become a woman's lifestyle doctor. So I practice lifestyle and nutrition. So I
Nice.
prescribe, I don't diagnose, because if you have a license, you're restricted to
Yeah.
something, to do something, even that is the best for the patient, but because you're restricted but a lot of different things, you cannot do it. So I decide to go different roads to help people, and I'm so happy that I'm not in the system.
Yeah, you were very smart to do that. That was great. That's great. Yeah.
If you could go back and give your younger self a message, what would it be?
Two things. So, one, just that I mattered, that my opinion and my voice mattered. Also, because I didn't have any really guidance, parental guidance when I was in high school, I didn't realize that you could go to college even if you were a poor person. So I thought that's off the table for me. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I went to nursing school. But I wish I would have known back then that it was possible to go to college right after high school.
So you didn't have enough like family support who can guide you. Great. So how people find your books, your website, connect with you?
Yeah, so the books are on Amazon, and it's easier to put my name in the Amazon search than the names of the books, because they'll just come right up with my name. So Pamela Topjian, Topjian, on Kindle and Amazon. I do have on Instagram, it's innerjourney.pamelatopjian. I do have YouTube, which is just my name. And I have a new podcast for holistic connections, conversations with holistic practitioners. And that's a playlist on the YouTube channel, but it's also on all your regular podcast platforms.
Great, great.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice conversation, Pamela.
Yes.
Amazing. You listen your story and your life-changing journey. So thank you for coming today. I'll see
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Are you ready for your Energy for Life bioenergetic nest scan? Dr. Larissa Sharapova and myself, Priscilla Koblenz, offer personal, private, 90-minute consults to get you back to optimal health and well-being. For more details, visit the show notes or check out harmonicalignment.co. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Harmonic Alignment. If something resonated with you, we would love to hear about it. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review and subscribing so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Thank you. The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and directions. The products and information received through the podcast should not be used to replace a consultation or advice from your healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or have any healthcare questions, please promptly call your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Larissa Sharapova and Priscilla Koblenz and the producers, are not responsible for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained in this podcast. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct financial benefit to the product or services referenced.